Welcome back to the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast. Last week, we started talking about something that I've spent 15 plus years of my life focused on, course creation. And we talked about 5 reflections to help you get going on a course topic. This week, we are going to go straight into something big in course creation. And no, it's not modules, lessons, or assessments. It's mindset. I am seeing the challenges and the upsets that occur when you are working toward creating a revenue generating course in your business in real time, as Digital Course Academy for new students and the DCA reboot for alumni is starting to kick off. And mindset is wreaking havoc right now. So if you are ready to master your mindset and make the most of your time creating a new course or maybe revamping an existing one, let's take a look at 10 mantras that you can begin using today to shift your perspective. Honestly, when people ask me what the most important part of course creation is, most people, if we were playing a game on a game show, would not choose mindset as one of the top 10 important things for course creation. It doesn't seem that important when you're talking about the steps to creating a course that's going to help your student make progress, achieve an outcome, or live a happier life. But mindset is everything if you don't live in a self-contained bubble. And because you are listening to this podcast, you are not living in a self-contained bubble and lacking any kind of outside influence. So it applies to you, right? What we're talking about, mindset. So let me share a story with you of why mindset is critical in course creation. Like I told you, I'm watching as new students and alumni are going through Digital Course Academy with Amy Porterfield right now. And I've observed a lot of things happening even over the last week before the course actually gets started and the reboot really gets going. And what I'm seeing, first and foremost, is a feeling of being behind. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that in our house, we don't talk about being behind because everyone's kind of on their own timeline, right? Now, in these groups, every time someone in the community posts about a question they have, maybe it's about implementing a specific technique for a lead magnet, 10 times as many people are going to chime in that they feel behind. Were they already supposed to have been testing a lead magnet? What is this technique that's being discussed? And where would they have found the information on that? Their portal doesn't have that. And then there are the questions about, well, what is a lead magnet? I don't know what that is. And is it something I'm supposed to be doing right now? And this conversation, in the various forms that it comes in, leads to overwhelm on everyone's part. The community admins are working triple time to set expectations that everyone is coming into the course with a differing amount of knowledge, with supportive course mates who are working to explain context and definitions. And then the poster of the original question is sitting there going, I don't think anyone answered my question. I'm so confused. And now I'm concerned. Everyone's concerned. Everyone's overwhelmed. And it feels very big and sometimes undoable to create a revenue generating course for your business. Now, some of you might be listening to this saying, yeah, that's fine. That's in a really big community, but I'm not participating in Digital Course Academy. I've never planned on it. I never plan on it. Maybe you are creating your course using resources that you find online. Maybe you're watching YouTube videos, you're going to Reddit, you're going to books, to articles, and then that moment happens. You stumble across an instructional design manual and your mind freezes. Are you really supposed to be doing all of these things? That's all you can think. There's so much. Am I supposed to be doing it all? Now, even if you've avoided the instructional design and curriculum design textbooks and references that litter my office floor, you're still going to bump up against posts like the one I shared today on my personal Facebook profile about student accessibility needing to be top of mind as you create content. And suddenly you're thinking, accessibility? What do you mean? Is that something I'm supposed to be concerned with right now? My point here is that any and all of these situations can create a fight, flight, freeze moment. This is why mindset is critical to successful course creation. But it isn't enough to say, okay, great, I understand. Mindset is important. We have to do the work. So today I'm going to share with you 10 mindset mantras or shifts that you can make right now. You can make them, but they're not going to be automatic today. They do take practice, but these are 10 things that you should be able to start saying today out loud. You can even say them right after I say them. That would be okay with me. The idea here is to really shift the mindset so that you can do what needs to be done to create your course in a successful way. So here's mantra 1. There is no single path to getting your course created. Or if you want to put that in first person, there is no single path to getting my course created. There is no single path to getting my course created. That is exactly why when potential clients reach out to me and ask if I have a set process for them to follow in course creation, I say no. And I guarantee I lose potential clients by saying that, but it's honest. When I have the chance, I go on to explain that I will help them to create a process that contains the steps necessary to their course and their business. In other words, I don't offer an off-the-shelf approach because your business isn't an off-the-shelf business. It is unique to you, which means your course creation process is going to be unique to you. There is no single path that you must follow as you create your course. Mantra 2. Course creation is an iterative process. I love the word iterative. So I hope you do too. That's why I included it here, but I also believe it 100%. Mantra 2, course creation is an iterative process. The course you create today does not have to be the final version. In fact, it won't be. It is going to be enhanced. It's going to be modified. It's going to be revised to incorporate new tools, ideas, and feedback that you uncover along the way. In fact, I'd be a little bit worried if you created your course and then never revisited how it was functioning. If you never added in new resources and never explored the feedback you got from your students or that you never even asked for from your students. The key is to begin and then commit to iteration. Course creation is constantly changing. So if course iteration was not a thing that was required, I would have created my very first course 15 plus years ago and left it alone. But that's not the case. There are pieces of it that have been a steady thread throughout. There are some activities that I always rely on. There are some lessons that I always make sure I include in a specific way because I know it works. But there have been activities I have chucked to the side of the road because they were abysmal failures. In other words, no one liked them. There are activities that I have seen other people use that I have adapted to put into my own courses. There have been assessments that I've done to help people understand where they are in the process that I found out didn't work the way I had hoped, and I had to make revisions. If course creation was a one and done thing, and a lot of times there's this pressure to get it right the first time, then I wouldn't have had to recreate this general psychology class that I've been teaching for 15 plus years. Instead, every single semester I make adjustments and tweaks to that course. And I guarantee you, it is not because I am being paid an amazing amount of money as an adjunct college professor to do that. It is because I know that course creation is an iterative process, and I am committed to that iteration, and I want you to be too. Mantra 3. My student goals will drive my decisions in my course. My student goals or outcomes will drive my decisions in my course. It is easy in a shiny world to choose tools because of what you like about them, or because someone recommended them, or because they have this nifty 50% off sale right now, and you only have that coupon for another 24 hours, so you need to use it. Or maybe you choose activities because you think they're neat, they're interactive, or just plain fun. When you commit to letting your decisions be driven by the student outcomes you are trying to achieve, then it is easier to let the shiny objects pass by without any heartache, without any lost time or lost focus. You can say, that's awesome that there's a 50% off coupon right now, but that's not what my students need, so I'm not going to use it. Imagine how much easier life would be, especially with all the offers we get via email, in our social media, via ads, or other kind of sponsored posts. Imagine if we just allowed our student outcomes to drive those decisions for your course. All right, mantra 4. I think of my course takers as learners and explore what approaches will suit them best. That's a really long one, so let me say that again. I couldn't quite come up with a shorter way. If you come up with a shorter way to say this, please let me know. But here it is one more time. I will think of my course takers as learners and explore what approaches will suit them best. In the commercial course space, where we're trying to create these revenue generating courses, it's easy to think about your course as simply another revenue stream or a new revenue stream, or potentially a way to get your clients to the higher tier service that you offer. And while that certainly might be true, it might be part of your business plan, imagine what will happen in your business and the success of your course if you focus on the fact that the people clicking buy now on your sales page are learners. You are going to create a course that is ideally suited to their needs. They are going to be more successful. You are going to have better word of mouth referrals, and you're going to have a course that people look up to as the gold standard because everything that you're putting into your course is designed to help them learn and move toward that student outcome. Not just getting those numbers in the door. Mantra 5. Course creation isn't about the best way to share information with my students and help them experience change. Course creation, did I say isn't? Oh my goodness. Mantra 5. Course creation is about the best way to share information with my students and help them experience change. Course creation, especially if you are just getting started, can feel a lot like making all of these technology decisions from the starting gate. What if you focus on the content first and the technology later? You can create all of the content, the activities, the interactions, the assessments, the feedback loops, and then find the technology that will support your course in the best way possible. You are not going to be stuck with a platform that requires you to bend your course, which might actually hinder your student outcomes and your students' experience. Course creation is about the best way to share information with your students and help them experience change. Mantra 6. Are you ready? We have been going for a little while now. Take a deep breath if you need to. We are on the second half of our 10 mantras now with mantra 6. Mantra 6 is I need to practice course creation to become proficient. Did I sound like a parent just then? Talking to a child who is supposed to be practicing their instrument. You need to practice in order to become proficient. Mantra 6, I need to practice course creation to become proficient. Just like your students will need to practice what you're teaching them in order to become proficient, you'll need to do the same as it relates to course creation. Everything in life, everything is a learning process. And to expect that your first iteration of the course or your first attempt at learning a new piece of course creation to be perfect, that's just not helpful. It is not helpful at all to expect that. There are entire degrees in college that cover curriculum and instructional design. Even trained teachers don't always get all of the details on curriculum development and best practices. So give yourself the space and grace to learn and flourish. Mantra 7. Course creation is a collaborative effort. So if you are a solopreneur out there, listen up. The truth is that course creation is a collaborative effort. When I created my very first course, I don't think I'll ever forget this. I hope I don't, because it reminds me of what it really takes to build a course. And when I built my first course, I spent a lot of time in my colleagues' offices collaborating on activities, ways to teach certain lessons that were outside my area of expertise in psychology. And we brainstormed ways to keep students engaged, especially on a Friday afternoon when there was a big football game the next day. I was at Clemson at the time, so you know how important football is and was and is to Clemson. So my students weren't particularly engaged on Friday afternoons, especially around 2:45 in the afternoon. They were ready to go. They wanted to start their Friday events into the weekend for those Saturday football games. And so we spent a lot of time talking about engagement. Course creation is not done in a silo. I could not have done what I did my first semester, my first year, my first few years without having that opportunity to have a mentor or to have a brainstorming partner. Course creation is a collaborative effort. Mantra 8. Course creation does not have a specific timeline. You have a launch planned. It's just a few weeks away, and your course isn't finished. In this case, you know what I'd recommend? Pushing your launch. Spend more time on your course. Here's why. The last thing that you want is to have an amazing launch and then disappoint your students because you spent all of the time on the launch and not enough time on the course. The course is where the experience is. Make sure that your course is designed to create change and outcomes for your students, and then plan the launch after that. You'll find, if you do this, if you actually spend a lot of time with your course first, you'll find that the launch you planned feels lighter, easier, more aligned, because you didn't force your course into a specific timeline. So you're not worried about that lesson that you created at 2 a.m. one morning trying to get it done, and maybe it doesn't make sense. You're not worried about that stuff anymore. Course creation doesn't have a specific timeline. Give it the time that it needs. Mantra 9. When I feel overwhelmed about the course creation process, I will focus on just one task. Now, I know at least someone needs to hear this again, so let me say it one more time. Mantra 9. When I feel overwhelmed about the course creation process, I will focus on just one task. Course creation feels like a never-ending waterfall of tasks that all relate to one another in some kind of magical spaghetti model, mind map kind of way. In other words, everything relates to everything else. When you tug on one string, another one suddenly needs attention. It feels big. It feels overwhelming. Instead of allowing that overwhelm to take over, instead just focus on what you can do right now. Maybe you aren't sure what to include in a lesson, but you know the outcomes. What needs to happen by the end of the lesson? You just aren't quite sure how you've always done it. Maybe you're such an expert at this that it's hard to break it down. Well, why don't you research it? Why don't you research what the articles say, what YouTube says? What are people saying about how this actually happens? This isn't to use their ideas, it's to get your ideas flowing. But just focus on one thing at a time, even if everything is clamoring for your attention. And finally, if you are still hanging in there and listening in, here's Mantra 10. Course creation is about connection. Let me say that again. Mantra 10. Course creation is about connection. One of the absolute hands down favorite things that I do in my business is that I focus on building actual human connections. And I say this as an introvert who isn't even close to the extrovert side of things. I would happily live in a bubble. Okay. People ask me for the details of my coaching via a DM, and they say, hey, can you just send me the details of your one-on-one coaching? And I say, hey, let's set up a time to talk about your business, about your needs, and then I'll be able to see if I'm actually able to help. And if I can't, I'll know who to refer you to. And I let them know that this is not a sales call. I view this as a conversation, as an opportunity to determine if I can genuinely help the person with their business. And I even put this on my Calendly links. When I go in, it says, what is this call? This call is not an interview. This call is a genuine conversation. Here's what you can expect. And I had one of these calls last week and realized that all the person needed was probably about 15 minutes of some brainstorming to clarify one thing, and then she would be on her way again. And so she asked me about my coaching. I shared my coaching offer with her, but I let her know that I didn't think it was what she needed, and that maybe we could see what progress we could make with the remaining 15 minutes on the call. And quite honestly, she was shocked, and she said, "Oh, no, I don't want to waste your time." But I said, I don't view it as a waste of time. I set this 30 minutes aside. Let's use the remaining 15 minutes, and maybe you'll be able to make this breakthrough that you've been working on. It was a chance to connect with a fellow human being. I wasn't watching the clock. I wasn't saying, oh, well, I can end that call early. Great. I wanted to make sure that she had what she needed to move forward. And so it was a big win in my book. She wasn't right for one-on-one coaching with me. She didn't need me, and I told her that. But we did work through the one thing that she needed some help with. So I tell you this because it's always about the connections. It's always about the relationships you're building. Course creation and businesses will always be about the connections that you create and foster. Whew. 10 mantras. 10 things that you can incorporate today. Now let's talk about your action item for the week. I want you to choose as many or as few of these mantras as you'd like to practice this week, anywhere from 1 to 10. You could set them as a phone background, a sticky note on your bathroom window, an alarm in your phone, as a journal. You could use it as a journal reflection prompt when you do your kind of early morning mindset mastery work. You could absolutely do that. The key is that the more you review and practice these mantras, the faster you will internalize them and shift your mindset to one of mastery. You will master course creation. You will master creating content that aligns with your student outcomes. You will master serving your clients fully. But mastery takes time, it takes practice, it takes persistence, and it takes diligence. These mindset mantras are designed to help you begin that practice. And they take very little time. Which is great. So which mantra are you going to begin with? And I ask that knowing that, gosh, we covered a lot of things. So let me recap those 10 mantras that are designed to help you manage the doubt, the fear, the overwhelm, the frustration that can spiral us into a mindset that has us freezing. Mantra number 1, there is no single path to getting your course created. Mantra 2, course creation is an iterative process. Mantra 3, my student goals will drive my decisions in my course. Mantra 4, I will think of my course takers as learners and explore what approaches will suit them best. Mantra 5, course creation is about the best way to share information with my students and help them experience change. Mantra 6, I need to practice course creation to become proficient. Mantra 7, course creation is a collaborative effort. Mantra 8, we don't want to skip mantra 8, which is course creation doesn't have a specific timeline. Mantra 9, when I feel overwhelmed about the course creation process, I will focus on just one task. And mantra 10, course creation is about connection. Now, this is episode 154. And I tell you this because I want to give you a little bit of a landmark here. In episode 155, so the one that comes right after this, later this week, we are going to dig into the concept of connection. So we're going to touch on this mantra 10 again. And we're going to talk about how to create connections on social media so that you not only have a community of supporters, you have a community of potential buyers. You also don't feel so alone in your business. And I can't wait to share with you this conversation because I have a very special guest, Tracy Beavers. She is a business strategist. She is an expert at building community without paid ads. Did you catch that? She is an expert at building communities on social media without paid ads. Okay, that right there is a good enough reason to listen to Thursday's conversation, Thursday, October 5th, episode 155. I cannot wait for you to hear the nuggets of wisdom that she shares in that episode. So I'll see you back here on Thursday for another episode of the Entrepreneur Mindset Podcast, where we focus on mentoring, community, and implementation. It's all about taking action so that we can remove the overwhelm of building a successful and profitable business and add in a little dose of momentum. Until next time, have a healthy, safe, and happy week.